Hey everyone, welcome to the Healthy Entrepreneur Show. My name is Maxine Choy. I am your host. I am a health and nutrition coach, and I work with women to help them achieve attainable health and fitness goals. You can contact me on any of my platforms at Live Well with Maxine. And tonight, I am so excited to have my guest, Stacy Destiny Savary. Destiny, or I'm going to call you, I'm going to refer to both
Yeah.
because I'm so used to calling you a certain name, and now I know your real name is Stacy. So I want to introduce you to the audience real quick, and we're going to talk about something that's near and dear to you and something that you've been going through, and we're going to be talking about other things as well. But I just want to introduce you first to my audience so that they know who you're all about. So your name is Stacy Destiny Savary, and for over 21 years, you have been, I'm going to read this, you have been noteworthy leader within your community, providing social support and outreach, especially within the Caribbean community. From working at a homeless shelter, get grassroots organizations, coordinating children's camps, mentoring programs. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on and on. Um, you have a passion for helping others, and you were also faced you were during that time you were faced with numerous health challenges, and
hmm
which required you to pause and take a break and seek your own healing. So we're going to talk about that, and that is a lot of part of it has to do with your diagnosis with endometriosis, and how you've managed to navigate this whole new diagnosis for yourself and continue to help others and heal yourself as well.
hmm
Um, so let's, if you can introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you. Then we're going to go right into the other things.
Well,
Welcome.
thank you, Maxine, for having me at the Business Takeout, and I'm really excited to be here. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey. I would say, like I said in my bio, I started off in social work, working community development programs, and very active. And my work was predominantly in the North Etobicoke, Rexdale, Jamestown area. I also worked in schools, was a youth counselor. I was very active also in my church as a youth leader, camp leader, and also as a missionary with Youth for Christ, Toronto Youth Unlimited.
Right.
So something happened um, quite a few years ago where I basically had to stop everything. I just continually got sick. And I continually ended up in the hospital like, numerous times. And if you know about hospitals, when you talk about your pain or different things, you know, sometimes it's a challenge because people
Yeah.
may not believe I look well, right? We look well,
Yes.
and you show up, and people may not believe you at first. So those are the challenges that I had. That being a person who was very active and passionate to being a person that was just at home and in bed and in pain. So
Right.
I felt I was living a double life, right?
Yeah.
But now I came out. I
You
came out
came
now
out.
that through my diagnosis, and I
Right.
found out what was wrong. They said with me, or
Exactly.
what the symptoms led to. I had to be misdiagnosed a couple of times for them to actually figure it out what had
Right.
happened to me. And my diagnosis, I would say, in a sense, it's bittersweet, but it actually saved my life. But
Right.
it caused me to slow down and to really think about the things that are important in my life.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm grateful that I'm on a journey now that I can advocate and speak up for other women who I'm one in 10. And it's definitely, like I said, a journey that I've had to navigate through it.
Okay. Destiny, Stacy, thank you for sharing that with me. And before we go on, I forgot to mention that this show, this platform, The Healthy Entrepreneur, I really want the audience to know what we're all about. And it is a platform to recognizing Black wealth through business education. And even to just take that a little further, about health education within the Black community, and
hmm
how these health issues can impact us, and really just basically impale our ability to continue on our success or journey to be to as an entrepreneur. And I mean, when I interview people, I like to hear their stories of overcoming and how
Mhm.
they've overcome challenges. And yours is one of them. And I'm inspired by so much about what you're doing. So I'm really excited to dive deep and touch on a few things and just get to know you a little better. For anybody who's watching the show, I want to thank everyone, and please feel free to like and share this. There may be some parts of it that may be helpful to you. So hopefully Dusty and I could bring that to you. And I want to just tell the audience what endometriosis is in case people are not familiar with it.
Mhm.
I'm going to read it here. Endometriosis is a disorder in which tissues similar to the tissues that forms the lining of the uterus, and it grows outside of your uterine cavity. And the lining of your uterus is called the endometrium. So the endometrius occurs when the endometrial tissue grows on your ovaries, bowels, and tissue lining of your pelvis. So I hope I haven't really confused everyone, because this is all new to me. But it usually is an unusual or endometrial tissue to spread beyond your pelvic region, but it's not impossible. So I won't go on any further, but we kind of get the gist of it, that it's something that affects the female reproductive organs, right? And
Yes.
I'm sure it has had a tremendous impact on you personally, and physically, of course, and of course just how you continue on your journey to either work or play or anything, right? So um, I know that you wrote a book as well, and your book, I think you have. You wanted to show your book for a second for us?
Yes.
Yes,
It's called The
awesome.
Perfect Storm.
The Perfect Storm,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that so your book is basically a story about your betrayal, loss, and all that stuff. And you and I were talking, and I want to just there was something that you said that made me say, "Oh my goodness, this is serious." Because
Mhm.
when I think of endometriosis, or something that is not like the C word, like cancer, right? We just think, oh, okay, you know what? We just go to the hospital, get that fixed, and you're good to go, right? But this almost came to a near death experience for you. So the question I wanted to ask you is that with this diagnosis, and since you've written your book about your life leading up to being diagnosed, your surgery, your near death experience, what significant impact has this had on your life after having gone through all of these?
Mhm. Well, it's definitely impacted me. It's affected the way how I relate to my family, to my friends, to also my work, my coworkers. Like I said before, I said I was very active in the community, but it actually basically forced me to slow down. I remember being in the hospital, waking up the next morning after my surgery, and I realized, and I couldn't walk. I remember them putting a machine on my legs.
Really?
Yeah, a machine on my legs so I wouldn't get blood clots. And I remember the nurse coming in with this long needle, injecting it into my stomach. And I remember feeling to myself, I'm never going to walk again. I'm never going to dance again. I'm never going to be able to do things normally again. And I was lying there and in pain. And I'm thinking to myself, after a couple of days of being in the hospital, I said, no, you know what? There is life after this. And that's where I renamed myself Destiny. I believe that I'm destined for greatness.
Oh,
And
that's
I
where it came
believe
from.
coming out of the hospital, it was a transformation for me.
Yes, I like
Right.
that. So,
So yes. So the transformation continued as I started to do rehabilitation, and I hired a wonderful trainer named Gavin Scrett for GS personal training,
yes,
and he helped me. But I remember lying in the hospital, and that little voice said to me, "You're going to need a team." I'm like, team? And that's true. There's a team behind me.
there is a
There's
team.
Team
Absolutely.
Destiny. I have physiotherapists, I have trainers, I have doctors, I have gynecologists, I have people who are walking along aside me to make sure that I'm living my best life despite
Exactly.
my diagnosis. And
I
I'm
love
so
that.
grateful.
I like that. You do need a team, and that's with just almost anything that you do. We need allies. We need people who are going to help us, and even to just encourage us.
Yeah.
to keep going. So when was this diagnosis?
This diagnosis was in 2017, October
Oh, okay.
2017.
I see.
Unfortunately, before that time, I was married, and unfortunately, I was separated and divorced. So the impact of my relationship, being married with to someone that may not have understand the impact and just my diagnosis and where my life is going to head. For example, like, I believe I was a good wife, but I'm not the wife that could have done the cooking, the cleaning, watching kids, do all those, you know, all at the
Right.
same time. I basically had to pace myself in my daily activities, just like I have to do to myself now. Over the years, being separated and divorced from my husband, I realized that I've always put other people in front of myself. I've
Mm,
put my husband, I put my stepson, I put my family, I put my church and the ministry. Also, I've also had to step down out of ministry because of that too. So the plan that I thought that God had for me, like I said, on that hospital bed, I said I heard the voices talking to me, and you have that, like, the angel and the devil type of thing talking to you, like, oh,
yes,
you're never
exactly.
gonna recover for this, or your life is gonna
No,
you're going
exactly.
down, and then that other voice is like, no, you're destined for greatness. So, like, like, it's, you're gonna do this, you're gonna get up, you're gonna walk. I had to walk with
Yeah.
a walker. I had to learn how to walk and physically run
Mhm.
again.
Yeah.
Posture. A lot of people don't know that. They saw my journey afterwards when I was posting online on Instagram, me working out. So they're like, oh, great, you're working out. But no, I was coming back. I'm a
You were
comeback.
coming.
I was
Yeah. Yeah.
overcoming.
Right.
And then when I felt, maybe about 2.5 years, um, I felt that, okay, you know what? And now it's time to share. And then last year during the pandemic, when I had another switch around, I said, you know what? Why not write about this? And
Yeah.
it literally does take courage, because as you can see, this is not a menstruation and periods and different things and
Right.
fibroids and infertility. Women, it's a taboo hush hush type of thing, especially
Right.
within the Black community and the Caribbean community.
Right.
It's not something that it's talked about. So
Right.
I'm being that motivating force to come out and talk about it and say that, you know what, sis, we need to heal, but though your womb
Right.
needs to heal first. And that's
Yeah.
the major thing. I'm healing my womb. It's from the inside out, and then you see me
Right.
blossoming, because that's where my healing starts from, the core.
You know, that's incredible, and thank you for sharing that. And I'm encouraging the audience to ask questions if they like. You said when you mentioned about being married at the time and you were not the wife to do all that. I'm really sorry to hear that your husband at the time wasn't as supportive, to support you through this, or even maybe it was a situation where he just didn't know how to handle it. But the fact that you overcome that and you realize that you had to heal yourself, and I think part of the writing the book was probably what you had to do to get to that state. Your near death experience. What do you mean by that? Like, what happened?
So, originally the surgery was scheduled in 2017 for me to, it was supposed to be 4 hours, right? And the doctors did not know what they were going into. So I heard afterwards that, I basically had to sign a paper and to say that, if something happens to me, if I bleed out, or, I would need a emergency blood transfusion or whatever, whatever. So basically I signed to that. And, when they were doing surgery, they were able to extract my womb. They were able to extract 16 fibroids and 2 cysts.
Oh,
I
wow.
went into surgery 120. I came out 110. So imagine, instead of taking out a
Wow.
10-pound baby, they took out 10 pounds of mass inside me, all embedded in my womb. And
Oh,
so it was a 6 hour surgery. And I remember my mom telling me she was sitting outside and she heard cold blue, and thought it was me. But unfortunately, it wasn't me. But yeah, I literally was there. I was at that point where, you know what? probably couldn't have made it from that surgery, but by God's grace, I did. And
Right.
they able to put back my wounds, stitch things up, and and I have a full C-section cut, and I've healed over the years, and I just continue to thank God that wasn't me. Unfortunately, other women, this is what I want to share with you, Maxine. Women around the world, especially I know in the Caribbean and other countries, they have that type of exploratory surgeries and they don't make it. They bleed
Oh.
out. They die. I've
Oh.
heard of stories. I've heard of a woman in Toronto that has died on the table. And again,
Mm.
why is this happening? Why? Because we're taking too long to get to these diagnoses. So if there's one thing I can say, that I just pray that the government and the healthcare system will find a way to find early diagnosis. And like you said, education in the schools, from the time in the primary schools, in the junior middle schools, from a time the girls hit puberty and that age where they're going to get their periods. Let's start talking about it, so you don't
Right.
end up like me in your 30s, where you're
So
thinking, okay, what's next here?
right.
What's happening, right?
So what would you say would be early diagnosis? How would you know that you have
Well,
that?
that's the thing, and that's the thing that there's no cure. There's no it takes 7 to 10 years to get a diagnosis. So for me, it took 10 years. Right, I was married for 7 years. It took 10 years to get a diagnosis, and here I am. I'm in my 40s now, right?
Mhm.
So I come to a point, I'm like, wait. They said, oh well, right after you have surgery, well maybe you should start having a baby. How can I have a baby right away? Oh, a baby will cure you. That's a myth. A baby won't cure you. Okay, maybe you should have a hysterectomy if you think you're too old to have a child now. A hysterectomy. A hysterectomy doesn't cure endometriosis. That's a myth, right? This is something that I would live with to the end of my life. It's not what I do now. It's how I manage how I live with this condition. And as you can see on my Instagram, my Facebook, I'm not letting it stop me.
Right.
Continuing to overcome. I call myself an endo warrior, but it's something that I have to battle and fight every single day. Just like a woman with cancer or a woman with sickle cell, you see us, we have this invisible illness, but you don't see what's happening behind the surface, right?
Right. Okay. So you've had to find a way to go through that process, the grieving process, as you put it, and finding a way to live your life normally, right? So during that process, what was your biggest challenge? Because okay, this is me coming from a different standpoint where I don't know much about how it debilitates you. Like I know it's going to affect you internally because we all women, we have our womb, we have our all that, our
Hmm.
internal organs, female organs. So I'm thinking, okay, you have it, it goes, you go for surgery and it gets repaired and you're just not in that much pain anymore. So what has been the biggest struggle for day-to-day life?
Right. And that's also a myth too, where people might think that just because I had surgery the first
Yeah.
time that, oh, everything's fixed. Women who have endometriosis end up having multiple surgeries. And for other things
Oh.
too, yes. I've had a second one, so I've had two, and I may have to have a third one depending because they might suspect that I have endometriosis on my bowels now. So since 2017, my bowels and my stomach area hasn't been working as it should before surgery,
Oh.
right? So it's something that, again, what do I have to do? It's daily. It's what I eat. It's what I intake. It's my stress levels. We have something called flare-ups, where if we get really stressed, our body just comes. It just feels like a flu. It's like a flu or like
Right.
a some sort of pain, and
Hmm.
I deal with pain every day. So when you have a flare up, your stomach looks like it could flare up. You could be like walking on the red carpet or somewhere, like, or just like in your dress, and your stomach looks like you're 3 to 6 months pregnant, right? You just
Wow.
automatically bloat, right?
So this is just an automatic
Yeah,
thing out of
yeah, it's called
nowhere.
endobelly. So you get these
Wow.
flare-ups, right? Anyone who has chronic condition or some sort of disorder, they may understand what I'm talking about in a sense of you just have your good days and your bad days,
Right.
right?
No, I can understand that, but I
Right.
mean, just the fact that you have these unexpected flare up that
Right.
has a physical implication on your, like you just get bloated like that or whatever. Like that's pretty scary. And I know we can talk about this, and I have a ton of questions to ask you, but I wanna just ask about how are you helping other women to be proactive? Like like I know you're into health and wellness, you're a
Yeah.
coach. This is a great area for you because it's so important. So how are you helping women to detect these, or even just like look about their
Right.
health?
Well, when I was diagnosed, I was just given a pill and just told, oh, okay, well, everything's okay now. You can go on with your life. I basically had to read books. I basically had to connect with people online. I found a great support group through the Endometriosis Network through Canada and through Endo events online where I could connect. I found Caribbean women or Black women that look like me in Toronto, Canada, that have my condition. I think it's very important that you reach out and to find supports online. But it's unfortunate that I wasn't given the proper education, the proper like treatment or management plan by the doctors. I had to go seek that out. So by me being an advocate for my own self, I'm able to coach others and help and give them those, tips, some little tricks
Yes,
of the
yes.
trade of, okay, you know what, this
Of
is
what,
what I do.
right.
I have my heating pad, I have my I do try this, So I really am getting to a point where I feel like, okay, yes, I have a hold on this. And just recently I joined the first ever endometriosis program for Black, Indigenous, and people of color, women, and in the community. And I'm so happy that I was a catalyst to that led to that being developed, right? And so
Hmm.
now I have a framework where I can coach and speak from. But
Nice.
in my advocacy work, I tend to speak on these platforms on not only in mental health but on regular health platforms, and
Right.
I have really good feedback from and really good advocacy and mentors in the U.S. women
Nice.
through the Endo Black organization
Hmm.
Incorporate. And like I said, I'm using my voice. I'm
Right.
using my voice,
I love
and
that.
I'm just using my experience. Like I said, like I told you
Absolutely.
before, 7 to 10 years. I don't want any woman to go through that. If there's some way that I can help some woman accelerate that process where they actually can get that diagnosis and then they know and then they can work with what they have.
Right. No, I love that. I love that. I'm glad that you're doing that as well. And I hope that if there's anyone watching, they could, reach out to you somehow and get some tips and advice, with what to do and how to even just like start connecting with the communities that can possibly help them.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
So
Someone in the chat said
yes,
they
I
have
did see that
lupus,
actually.
right?
Somebody,
Or they had a like, yes, lupus and sickle cell. Yes, I have lupus.
yes,
Thank you, Krista. Yes,
yeah.
lupus, sickle cell. These are things that can actually come along with
Oh,
autoimmune disease. So I have a chronic autoimmune disease along with endometriosis,
oh,
right?
wow.
So it's
Okay.
like so
Oh,
like I said, it truly is a daily thing, and it's something that I said that I wouldn't even wish it on my worst enemy. I
no,
remember
no.
being induced with a drug, Lupron Depot, and I was basically put into premenopause early. So I in my early 30s, I knew what it is to have menopause, and that
Right.
was not fun. That was not fun at all,
I can
right? Those symptoms of
imagine.
hot flashes and not being able to sleep and chronic pains in my joints. Even though
Right.
I took that medication, unfortunately, from that medication, I realized, you know what, this is not the way to go through me. I know some people they might get they may be on the birth controls and different pills and right, and I respect that, but for me,
Right.
I felt in the last 2 years I've actually weaned myself off of any medication. I'm a
Right.
meds free, and I do it holistically in a natural approach.
Mm.
Food is my
Yeah,
medicine.
you know
Yeah,
what? That
I'm proud
sounds
of myself for that one. Yeah.
no. you know what, and that is the key, is that you've decided that rather than putting these drugs into your body, you're going to say, okay, let me just see how I can help myself by eating properly, living a healthy lifestyle, and of course the mindset as well. And I really like that you've taken control of your life. So at least it lessens the severity of what you're going through, and I think that's amazing. That's very powerful, actually. And I always say this: if you can take control of your health and your well-being, that's power, right?
Hmm.
Because we have the ability. I know there's somebody has a comment on there. If you can read it for me, because I'm using my cell phone and I can't really see from here. Unfortunately, it's so tiny. Because I've had, what is it? Somebody saying, can you
She
read
said
that?
she had fibroids and she had Lupron too that made her sick and it didn't work. Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah. Thanks for sharing that,
thank you.
Crystal. I think, you know, as we know, we're always, we get diagnosed with these things and we depend on the drugs. And I was talking to somebody this morning, and I made a reference to when we have chronic pain, it is very tempting to resort to drugs because it's going to help us to be productive, and it's, but I feel that when you start to depend on the drugs or just take the drugs, you're telling your body to just shut up, right? I think Louise Hay says that when you depend on the drugs, it's like telling your body to just shut up so I can, get moving.
Hmm.
But really, your body's trying to tell you something, right?
Right.
And you
Hmm.
have to listen to it. So, I
Right.
mean, good on you for doing that. I'm really proud. And I hope that people will follow your page to see how they can incorporate a more healthier lifestyle to help them with any of that. It doesn't have to be endometriosis, right?
Hmm.
Um, so you said that you cannot physically work 9 to 5 every day, 9 to 5 job. Um, is there a way that this can ever change for you? Like, would you ever be able to work 9 to 5 again? And why is that?
Well, I've come to a place in my life, as I was telling you before, that I had to grieve my old life. I had to grieve, and I used to work 9 to 5 for many years. I used to work more than 40 hours a week, 40 to 60 hours, and that does a lot on your body. I actually burnt out maybe
Right,
between 5 to 7 years in the social work field, and especially being in social work and the human services field, you're always giving of yourself. You're always helping, right? You're helping others, right? So it's like I'm like a car running on empty fuel, or like
right,
I'm that empty cup. I have nothing left to give, right?
right,
So I've come to a point where I realize in order for me to be productive, I don't necessarily need to work a 9 to 5. My day work starts at 5 a.m. I wake up at 5. I do my prayer, my meditations in the morning, my workout early in the morning with my trainer sometimes, and then I'll start. So like 5 to 9, I work, I rest, I take a nap, I eat, I prep my meals, I do what I need to do, and I sleep. And then I come back and from 5 to 10 again, I work. So it's just adjusting hours. And like I said, a lot of people have learned that, I was telling you, through the pandemic, right? That yes, we can work from home. Yes, we can make accommodations for people with disability or illnesses, or chronic
oh
illnesses.
yeah,
I
for
also
sure.
consider myself, I have a hearing impairment. So even that, my new job is I take on projects, right? So but my new work has made those accommodations for me, that I can work at home and that I can have a proper workspace and I can have a proper headset and I can hear properly,
Right,
so we can do these things. So I total have respect for the people who are continuing to get up despite everything, to the pandemic, are continue essential. But for
right,
those of us who weren't essential last year, or had to find, some of us had to, drive Uber, do Uber Eats to feed our kids, like,
yes,
no,
yes,
what we had to make ends meet,
you
right?
absolutely,
So
absolutely,
just like that, I have to make ends meet, where I have multiple streams of income coming from different sources, aka the book. Now, as an entrepreneur, an author, it's a great source of income to come into, and be able to be paid to speak on platforms and different things. So I didn't
yeah,
even know that would have existed. Like, again, I took a chance, right? That's
yes,
one thing
yes,
with me, even though um I had my own life. I'm still that ambitious. Go get her, go get it. Let's do it. I have to motivate myself to get up and show up as my best self.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that you're still driven. I love that you're stand bold in your work environment to say, listen, I can do this, and they provide you and accommodate you, because I
Yes.
think that if that wasn't the case, you probably would have struggled with being able, like, struggled with a job, right?
Right.
Because when you have a disability, your odds are against you, right? And
Exactly.
depending on the demands of the job, they may think you're not fit for, or even you may not be fit for. But I'm just so glad that you're in that space where you can still work and feel a sense of value. That's great. um, so, like, how are you doing health wise? Like, how do you feel? Do you feel, what, I've got this, or I have a long way to go? In terms of
I've
just coming back to 100%.
I've come a long way. And like I
Mhm.
said, I couldn't have done it without my Team Destiny, my family,
Yes.
my brother, my sister, my mom,
Nice.
and my partner, and my family. I couldn't have not done this without them. I have
Right.
people rooting for me all the time. How am I feeling? I hope to my goal is to be in optimal health, right? So when
Yes.
people see me, they're like, "Oh wow, you're great. You look girl, you're on your
And you
A
do look
game."
great.
Yes, thank you. So I hope to feel as good as I look. That is my
Well,
goal,
it starts right
right?
here. You look fabulous.
Thank you. So
Yes.
yes, these days I've been feeling much better because, like I said, I've been getting the proper resources and help that I need. Also mentally too, it's definitely been a journey, and for the longest while, because I'm a trained social worker and counselor, and I've trained also. I've done crisis counseling. People like me, it's very hard to get help because that's what I'm trained to do.
Yes, I
So
know.
to the last 3 years, I've excellent help from Dr. Nadine Wong, who's been definitely a godsend, and I've been able to meet with her and continue our sessions online. But I think that's one
Nice.
thing that people need to realize is it's a whole mind, body, spirit,
Yes.
and right.
Absolutely.
So I literally have to train my mind. I get up in the morning and I
Yeah.
do my healthy affirmations, health and wealth affirmations. I am
Absolutely.
whole. I am healed. And I speak them out.
Oh,
And I speak it out. Even if I don't feel it, Maxine, I speak it out.
we have to speak things into existence. I tell this
Right.
all the time. I've had my own personal experience with speaking things into existence by affirming them, believing them, declaring them, and just having that spiritual uh, ness about you to believing it's possible. And I truly do believe in that. So I'm so glad that you're just feeling great, and you sound like you're just not going to stop. And I love it. I
Yeah.
hope that, like I said, I keep saying, if anybody's watching this, I hope this is of some value. Please reach out to Stacy. Stacy, when women, so I don't know if I asked you this before, and forgive me if I have. Can they reach out to you if they
Yes.
think, okay,
Yes,
perfect,
they do. Women
awesome,
all over the world. Even I have women from
oh,
England reach out to me and they say, you
awesome.
know what, I've come across you, I've come across your book, I've come across, and you inspire me. And it's so great when I got those personal messages. So yes, you can reach out to me.
Okay,
And
awesome,
hopefully I'll be able to connect you to the necessary resources. Because like I
awesome.
said before, I really think that we need the psychotherapists, we need the counselors, we need the
Yes,
support groups.
absolutely,
I could not do this on my own,
exactly.
right? And so,
Well,
yes.
no, this is great. So, Stacy, one last question before we go, because we are running, and my
Mhm.
battery on my phone is low. My
Oh,
goodness.
yes, Krista.
Oh, so yeah, thank you, Crystal. When this lockdown is over, what's the first thing you're gonna do?
What's up, pardon me?
When the lockdown is over and the world gets back to normal, what is the first thing you're gonna do? Just tell me.
You know what? The
I know.
first thing I would do, everybody would be to everybody would think it would be to travel because I am a traveler. But in a sense, to tell you the truth, I honestly think I drive up to Blue Mountain and go to the spa, Le Scandinave Spa, and just
Oh,
soak out. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but oh,
I
it's
have.
majestic. The
I
mountains,
yes,
something about being in nature, and for
absolutely.
me, it's just healing. I need to
Yes,
be near water. I need to
I
be in the
think
mountains and
yes.
nature. That's where I feel well and whole.
I absolutely agree with that. I think being in anywhere where there's mountains and trees and water and all that, it does provide some kind of healing benefit for us. And I hope that does happen for you when world opens up, and you might even see me there too. So, um, mind, body, and spirit. It's all about that. It's all about you know connecting with your body, knowing what it needs, being an advocate for it, and listening to um, what it's saying to you. Because a lot of times, like I said, we either not educate enough, we don't have the resources, and the doctors aren't giving us what we need to actually like figure
Mm,
this out. They're there to
yes,
help you when the things happen, but maybe in the
yeah,
process, So
yeah.
I just want to thank you so much for agreeing to come on here and talk. We could talk longer, but the show has to wrap up. But I want to thank you again. And if anybody wants to reach out to you, they could, I think information is there. They can get your book, they can follow you on Instagram. And if you can just share with the audience your Instagram handles.
Mhm. Yeah, it's Destiny underscore Savary underscore. You can
Awesome.
find me there.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you so
Great.
much, Maxine. And I just want to say that I can, as your show is called the Healthy Entrepreneur, right? I find there's a lot of beautiful women getting starting into businesses and startups and side hustles. But if it's one thing that I want to encourage you, if as you want to be your best self, you want to show up as your best self as a healthy entrepreneur. So in order to do that, you have to take care of yourself first, right?
Absolutely. You know what? Thank you so much for saying that, because that's really why the producers got this show on the online, because of the fact that in order for us to be
Right.
productive, we need to take care of our health,
Right.
because we're entrepreneurs, we're doing the business.
Right.
We gotta make sure that we take care of this body here. So, with
Yes.
that said,
Vessel.
exactly. So with that said, I want to thank you, and I thank the audience again. Please stay tuned for more episodes. And in the meantime, stay well and have a good night.
You know.
Good night.
Thank you.